Good day, traders. Welcome from Moscow. I'm in Moscow right now. I told you last week I was traveling. I'm in Moscow. I'm going to be here for a while, and then I'm going back to Dubai. So while I'm in Moscow, you might be able to get your daily webinars recorded, especially the weekly outlet recorded on Sunday. I hope that is good for you. So please enjoy it. Before I start, I want to give you an update news. This week, coming week, you will be having a webinar every day, but it will be a 5 minute webinar on a single major pair from the monthly way down to the 15 minutes, which means I'm going to give you everything I think about that pair. Here is a good example of what a euro would look like, right? This is the euro monthly. We'll tell you where we think it is on the monthly, what we think, what we're expecting in the long term. We'll tell you what we're expecting in the daily, what we're expecting in the 1 hour, and what we're expecting in the 15 minutes. So you will know exactly where your trade is for the day and what you can expect in the long term. Please make sure to share those videos. They're going to be really good. If you go back and look at some of them that I did on the Aussie pairs and you were paying attention to them, you would have made a ton of money in the Aussie pairs because they did exactly what we want them to do. Now, it doesn't mean you trade the long term. It means they give you a vision of how chart analysis work and it makes you understand the power of wave analysis because you really see how this thing works when you make a forecast for a year ahead and you watch it work exactly like that. You're like, darn, can you see in the future? No, it's just because these patterns, they repeat themselves. The ability to identify them is what is important. And that is where wave analysis comes in. We have been very good at identifying them. There's no second to me in that. And that's not boasting. That's telling you a fact. Go back and take 100 of my webinars or take 100 of anybody's webinar and compare the forecast. Those of you who are watching me already know that. Now, I want you to share that to people who have never seen it before. So you help sharing these videos are going to help somebody else learn and gain from it. Okay, let's go. Let's start. I'm going to go through everything for the single weekly outlook. I'm just going to do the 1 hour one, give you the trade of the day. And if you're interested in the longer term and everything else, keep watching this week. You're going to get everything. Make sure your subscription is live so that you put it to get the signals when I click. Once I post it out, you will get the notification and you'll be ready to watch it. So let's go. Dollar index, as you know, have already broke the top on the daily. And it's not only dollar index, it's almost every one of them have completed some kind of a pattern. So there's a good chance we could start to get the reversal. It doesn't mean it will start now, but the requirements are there, which means you just need to allow this single impulse to finish what it's doing, and then you're going to get some really amazing trades. What is interested in those drops when they start to happen, like a daily, let's say a daily trend, upwards or downwards? Interesting is that the moves are sometimes really sharp and really fast. And this is the time when you use the opportunity to really make money. If you miss these, when you miss something from an extreme level and it goes into consolidation, you don't really make a lot of money. It's from the extreme level you start really making money, because from that point, even if you're an investor, from that point, you can hold it a little longer. From that point, you can say, well, okay, let's see what's going to happen next. And you can take a lot of short trades into it. When it gets into the consolidation, a bigger range, of course, we trade that. Shorter range, you just wait for the setup to finish and buy or sell. So in the dollar index, there was a sell setup. You would have seen it very clearly. There's a good chance it's consolidating here, which means we're going to look for more sells. At some point, this will start to make a deeper correction before it confirms the downside. That is what will confirm the downside. Now, what are the chances that this thing could still go up more? Yeah, there are still chances you could make a very big consolidation. I don't know, something like this, for example, and go back up. You could make something like this and still go back up. There are a number of things that could happen and you could still continue to go up, right? So it means that the upside will move. You can see it when it's finishing, right? You can see the turn. What that means is that every sell opportunity we will take, every buy opportunity, we will consider it, which means if it's good, you're good setup, we'll take the trade. If it's not so good, we'll just exclude. Leave that, go for something else. And since this is going to be a dollar movement, we will look at all the dollar pairs. I might also do silver and gold long term for you. So keep watching this week. You might get more than one a day. If there are about 8, 9 pairs I have to do, then I might do 2 a day. So keep watching, and I'm hoping you can share these, right? So far, it's the same set of people watching. Let's double that amount of people who watch it, which means you get it to somebody who's never seen it. Dollar index downside. Let's go. Silver. Silver, we were in the sell last week. That was this drop. Let me take that out. It's a clean slate now. I should take all of these out. We're going for a clean slate today. Yep. So right now we're looking at it in this place, and it looks like it's making a big flat like this did for downside. You can see that this is also consolidating. So we would assume that they're going to repeat that. Now, what you would do is you look at it and say, well, what if it starts to turn from this side going up? Right? What if it is actually trying to go up? Well, if you see a flat, this was a flat, this was a buy, but this buy would have only been to break this stop. My traders know that. I told you if you want to buy it for one impulse up, and then you get the hell out of it. Now, if it makes another flag here, we go buy again. I think you can see this start doing this, which means if it comes back here, make a flat here, you can go for another buy setup. If you took this one, I think some of you remember, we will try to get one here, up again. It's one more impulse. Once it's making big corrections like these are going to be one more impulse up. Because when you make big corrections like that, it's either a channel, the first impulse becomes a channel to the upside or a leading diagonal. And after that, you will get a flat, which means you're going to get a bigger correction, and then you're going to get a takeoff, which will be the very sharp move up. I think my traders would remember that on the CAD dollar, right? Where we had that expanding leading diagonal, the flag, and then it just took off like a rocket. So if you understand how that pattern will behave, then what you will find is a slow climb, which means if you think of in terms of what's really happening in the market, it's like it starts to turn, but there isn't that big momentum as yet. Momentum is still slow. Not everybody is convinced that this thing is going to turn. So, you know, there are buyers pushing it slowly. So that slow movement of buying creates a specific pattern. And then there's that consolidation phase, a phase where it stays within a very slow range, a very, you know, a sideways movement, where everybody is convinced that it's not going to go lower anymore, because every time it attempts to go lower, there are buy orders coming in. Now, whether it's one person doing that, whether it's one bank, whether it's a number of banks, it doesn't matter who or what is causing it. But you can see it happen. And when you see that happen, you know there's, you know what, there's going to be an explosive move up, because we have seen it many times in the past. And if you see that, it's very likely it happens. The problem with that is that these slow move up could also be corrective structures, right? The channel up or the leading diagonal up could definitely be just a corrective structure, WXYXZ, because they are very, very similar in nature. But the strategy of trading it to the downside and trading it to the upside are different, which will make you not get into the trade if it's going down or it's going up, right? So if you think it's going down and you have a sell setup you're taking, your strategy and your trade management will be as such to get you out of that trade, or don't even get you into the trade if it's going up. And if it is going up and you have a buy setup and you go with the buy setup and it's just a correction to drop, you should have the same thing. The money management, the trade management, not money, the trade management and the strategy we use will either get us in and get us out of the trade very fast, or we will not be in the trade. And that's the whole thing about trading. Once you understand wave analysis and you understand what are the possibilities, you build strategies around them and you build trade management around them. That's all. There is nothing magical in this. There's understanding and knowledge. If you have the knowledge, then you create strategies around that knowledge. So far, it's working amazing, right? So that's what we're doing, creating the strategies around the patterns that we see, like every pattern, how you're going to trade this pattern, this specific pattern. And what if it doesn't do what you expect it to do? How do you get the hell out of it? That is the trade management part, right? Okay, now that we've covered that, let's go. We're going to watch for this. So far, it's a buy setup forming, right? Because of the depth of the pullback here, I think we're looking at a possible running flat and then upside, right? One more upside. What we don't know is whether that upside is still a correction. We will buy it. It's a short-term trade. If we're lucky, it becomes a long-term trade, because this becomes a huge spike. And that means it starts the long-term upside. If not, it will just give you one short spike up, start to come back down, you get the hell out, we look for the sell setup. Gold, same here. Gold is pretty much going sideways. If you look at it here, you might want to say, well, what if this is making some kind of a flat? This was a flat inside of it. This was a 1, 2, 3. If you sold that, you get out of it already. This looks like it can go back up to the top. If we get this and this becomes that, we're going to have one more down. Now, can we buy this for the upside to break that top? You can try to do it. I wouldn't advise doing it, but you can try to do that. The chances are it will go back up one more, but then you're going to get a drop. So you can let it come back to this top and look for a sell setup, right? Silver will be looking for a short-term buy. It has to come back first. This one will have to go here, come back here, and then go. That would be a short-term. This one, you'll be looking for a short-term sell setup, because the sell is short-term. Now, this will go up first, but that buy is not a good buy, right? It's going to drop. The sell is a better idea. So we'll see which one comes first of the two and which one is worth taking, right? Which one of those. Now, once this break the low again, and I think it will break the low, there's a chance it's going to come here and then break the low once more. We're going to get a flat there. Once we break the low, the chance, it could still break this low, but the chance at any point in time it could start to go back up, right? Because we're in a very, very big consolidation. Euro, on the daily, we broke the low. This is the daily weekly low. I've been showing you that low a long time, and I'm telling you, well, you remember when they came to the low here and they didn't break it, and I said, be careful, this is a correction. It will go break the low. They likely will break that low, and they keep dropping, and those were sell setups. Now we are getting our first buy setup, which was on Friday. I think we got break even in this, and that was because of the news. We took off the trade for positive because there was a news coming, and in a news event, you could get a sudden spike and then go back up. A sudden drop, sorry, and then go back up. So we decided we're going to get out, and we got back in, and we got out again. But no problem. It didn't really go very far. Both of those were positive. Now it's consolidating here. If you get a consolidation here, we're going for another buy. So it's either we get a consolidation there, we get another buy, we get a sharp drop here and start to go back, and we get another buy. So we're mostly focused on the buy setup in Euro. So I would put this as a buy setup, which means my traders, if you're following me for the first time or you're seeing this webinar for the first time, we have color codes for setups that we're looking at. So my traders, when they look at the webinar, they know exactly what pairs to look at. And then we do update of these trades that we have on like a setup or an entry or whatever we're putting on. We will do daily updates on them. We do hourly updates on them, which means 4 or 5 times a day we update that. Right? We would look at it and say, okay, let's see what happened to that trade. What we're doing it, we're still keeping, we're closing, we'll take profit, it never triggers, take it off, whatever series of things we're going to do with it. We do that every couple of hours. So you get real live view of what is happening in the trades, live updates, you know what to do, you know how to manage your trades. So I think we'll be looking for a buy there on the pound. The pound still looks like it can drop. I can see this trying to go up. We have a running flat. It didn't break out as yet. It might break out. We have a few sharp waves that are not accounted for. We'll have to go back and take a look at them, see where the running flats are. It might go up, but it's not a buy setup that I like. Unless we get a much better setup in, I don't know, 1 hour probably. I don't like this upside as yet. I'll probably wait on this. It could also drop. I don't see why the running flat is over. So if this starts to drop, we might even go for the sell setup on this. Right, which is strange. Euro looking upside, this looking downside. One out of the two will be correct. We'll figure that out on Monday when the market opens and we start to see it's moving. Because this is looking like a consolidation move. It's going up, but it's a consolidation move. So I'll just leave that there. We don't have a trade set up on it as yet. We'll come back to that. Aussie, definitely the buy. We started buying Aussie once we broke that low. If you're in this buy, you'd close it. We'll wait for another buy setup above the top, and this would be a buy setup actually. It's making a flag there that should come down a little more. You can see they're making a flag here. So there's a good chance that this flag would work its way up, come back here, and then we'll wait for that trade out. Right, so you can put it as a buy or a buy setup. If it's going to drop one more, and let's assume that it is going to drop one more, you can go for the sell. We'll have to look at this Monday to see whether there's a sell setup forming here. If you get the sell, then we're going to break the low once more. Like this, right? We had a sell setup there. We knew that this was a thing. You break the low once more, right? So we'll trade it to break the low once more. Now, it's not a clear sell setup as yet. Right? You can see that the difference between this is the impulse. See that impulse there in this direction? This one is a short impulse. So we'll have to make sure we get a really, really clear buy sell setup, and then we'll go with it. Which means if it doesn't go back up much more, if Monday morning when this opens, we don't go back up too much into the top, we'll probably take the sell. So in that case, I'll put it for both ways. I'm putting the buy on, but I'm putting it for both ways because if it's going to drop, this is the place from where it's going to drop. Right? This is from where it's going to drop. So we will keep an eye out for a 15-minute sell to break the low again, and then we're going to get that. At some point, that will come, which means all buy setups will take once we break the lows. Right? Once they break the low, they're going to go back up. We'll keep an eye out for this sell short term. If it doesn't, then they consolidate here, which means if this becomes a bigger consolidation here, go back up to the top, or back up to the top there, come down here, we're looking for the buy. So it could become a buy setup tomorrow morning. It could become a sell setup. You'll keep an eye out for both, right? New Zealand. Pretty much the same thing. We bought this. It didn't go. You close the trade. You had umpteen hours to close it. It did break the top, which is good. That's what we were expecting. We were expecting it to go break that top. And now it's consolidating here. Again, the same setup you have here. You have the same thing happening here, right? So from this point, it can drop, make a new low, and then go back up. Or this would consolidate to the top there and continue to go. You don't know which one is going to happen, right? What you do is you follow the patterns as they're developing, and then you'll make that decision. Right now, again, this one has a sharper impulse. I like the impulse to the downside, it's much bigger, but you want this to probably go back up there and don't break this top. If it doesn't break that top, we're gonna put a sell here and we're gonna go with that. That becomes a sell. If it goes back up and break the top, if you go back up here and break this top, chances are it's gonna come back here, make a flat, and then we're going up. So we're gonna have both possibilities also, right? So keep an eye on this Monday morning when you guys are gonna trade the Asian session, see where the first move goes. How it thinks, and then it will give you this setup for the buy or the sell. So we're going to put that both ways too. Yen, definitely you're going to get the buy. So we did some sell, they became break even because I think you remember we sold that break even, we sold this break even, they're not going anywhere. Look for the buy setup. We're going to put a buy on this and we're putting it exactly in that spot. Now, right now I can see a sell setup. But I believe if we take the sell again, like we took this sell and we took that sell, remember this flat here? We could take this, but it might just be the same thing. It might just drop again here and then start to go back up. They made quite a lot of consolidation here, so I don't think it's going to drop. I mean, if it becomes a perfect sell setup, right? If this stays right here, and you get a perfect sell setup, like go there and decide to drop, you can go with this. It might be a break even, come here, go back up. If you take one break even, two break even, or take the third break even, right? I don't think it's going to drop. It's more of a consult, but put the entry order for the buy, because if it's a buy, you will not have the setup. It will just take off. This is a consolidation. So if it's going to be a buy, you want your entry order for the buy, just like this. You want this entry order for the buy, right? You're waiting for the buy setup. So we took that buy, we close it, you re-enter the trade here or here, depending on which one you chose. You chose this or you chose that as a buy setup. Take this off. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing here. If it is going to fall, you will, if you can go with the sell. If you don't get the sell in the drop, wait for a flag sell, right? So we'll see whether that is started. I wouldn't put this as both sides. I'll put this as a buy because we have a buy entry in it, but you will manage it, see if it gets a sell, right? CAD. We sold this already. We sold it. We closed. We sell it again. You will look for another sell setup here. Wait for this. You can see the flag forming here already, right? This came down all the way to the bottom. You want it to go back up slightly there, and then you got a perfect flat for a sell. That'd be a good sell setup, right? So we're only looking for sell setups. By the way, the CAD is an interesting chart. If you really, really want to see what the longer time frame looks like and what it's going to do, don't forget to follow me and you can subscribe, set up your notification, and you're going to get this whole week free webinars because we're going to do major pairs, right? So don't forget to do that. CAD, let's go. Up, CAD is a sell. Let's set that up as a sell. Swiss. The buy didn't come, the sell would have been break even. If you sold here, you got break even. If you sold here, you're probably waiting to catch it. So remember, the buy was during the news, right? We actually sell the first one. Actually, we sold it here, I think, the first time. We closed it. You took off, I think, 20 pips or whatever it is. We sold it the second time here. I think you should close it and then wait for another setup. If you shouldn't stay in the trade over the weekend because it's not a big one. We can still leave this buy setup here. I don't think it will trigger because it's coming down most likely. You can see you're going down mostly. That was the news that pushed it up. Not enough for the buy. We close our trade in the sell. And wait for a flag here. Actually, wait for a sharp wave up. If it makes a sharp wave up like this, we will take that as a running flat and we can go for the sell. I'm more inclined to go for a sell on this one. Take this out. Although this is looking like a correction, remember the bigger picture is telling us that they can go back deeper, right? The bigger picture says it can come back from this point all the way to the low again. We'll just have we're in a big sideways move. They don't have to go back to the top. If it is going to go back to the top, let it break out, make a flag, we'll buy it. So at this point, you're looking for a sell setup, but you don't have a sell setup as yet. And selling it here is a bad idea until either it makes another flag or it pulls back like that. If we get the pullback, that'd be perfect. So running flat, we're looking for a sell setup. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to leave this. We're looking for a sell setup. Wait for that pullback or a flag and then take the sell. Your CAD. the buy is still valid. So now that it is giving you this flat, right? Now that they actually came down and they're going back up, they haven't broken the top, right? It started to come back down. So all you have to do is put it like this, and we're looking for the buy. If it comes down a little more, it's just making a bigger flat, right? If it comes a little more here, probably come here, go back up there, come back here, and then take off. We're looking for the buy setup. This is still a buy setup. So this one we'll put the buy on, waiting for the buy. Euros. And this one will have to be careful. This piece looks like if you will get a buy setup here. That would either be the start of a deeper correction, but I think most likely you could just come like here and start to consolidate it before you drop. It would most likely drop. The bigger picture is downside, see? So if you consolidate under that trend line, the chances are you're going to drop. We don't have the sell setup as yet. The bigger picture is a sell. We don't have that sell setup as yet. It's consolidating, which means I'm expecting one more up and then the downside. But I'm expecting this to probably go up one more there, give us this flat, either start the downside or consolidate more here. So we can look for the buy setup. We'll probably take it a much lower point. Try to get the buy setup from in here going up, and then we'll see. So I'll put this as a buy setup. We don't have the buys yet, but a buy setup you're looking for to the upside. You're in New Zealand. Stay away from this. We didn't sell it. We didn't buy it. Stay away from it because it's in this consolidation and nothing to do there. So wait, that's it. Let it go back up. Let them tell us if they're going to go back up first before the sell comes or if they're going to totally take off. So we'll wait. Euro Swiss. It's coming down. You can see that they're consolidating there, which means we might get one more drop. You might get one more drop to the downside. This one actually did what we wanted it to do. This piece here went up. So you got 1, 2, 3. That's this flat, right? This will probably come back down here. And if it goes back up and come back down, you have a big flat here. Now, if you get a big flat there, that's 1, 2, 3, and then downside. So I believe it's going to just, we did this Friday. Remember the reason we put this here and we said we're going to take a look at this and see whether that happens. Most likely it's going to consolidate here, then we'll get a drop. So no traders there. Euro yen. Okay, there is a flat here. It kind of made a contracting flat. It kind of go back up, wait for it to come back here. It has to drop there, probably go back up. And then we'll see if we get a sell setup. Can it actually go back and retest the top? Yep, there's a possibility we can do that. So which means this might not come back here. It might just crawl up like that. Come back here, give you a running flat. Come back here, make a new high and then drop, right? So there will be a new high before they drop because this one is pretty high. And if this goes back, this becomes a big flat. You can see that if it goes there, what is going to happen is you're going to make a new high. Remember this big flat? They're just probably going to come here, come back here, go make a new high and then drop. I don't think it's a takeoff. I think it's going to make a new high and drop. Now, can we buy it from this point? Not a great idea. The buy is not a good idea. If you get a better flag above here, or we wanted to literally go there, make a better flag, and then we go for that buy. So the buy would become a good idea in that case. Euro pound. We're going back up. We broke the low. So at this point, you want to see how fast this goes. It could be 1, 2, 3, we go back up, or it could be they're starting a bigger downside. Any flag you get, as a matter of fact, you're getting a running flat. Go for the buy. If it goes fast, great. If they stay here, instead of going up, if we stay here and consolidate, that would be one more up here and then a drop. We'll still buy it. So as of now, we're looking for a buy setup, not a sell setup as yet. Let's take off these. Those were trades from last week that you should be out of already. So let's go back. Punkad. Punkad, we're looking for a buy setup. If they go deeper, if it goes deeper into this, we'll go with the sell. So right now, what I think is going to happen is this is going to go up here. Watch it at that point, because if it's a flag, we're going to go one more up. If it becomes a flat like this, we're going to go one more down. And if they come one more down to this level, we're going to go up, drop one more. So it will become a flat for downside. If they go up from here, we could be going up pretty big, right? This could be the big upside because we were expecting a move like this up, right? So if this is the one that is going to go, we'll try to get the trade from here to go up like that and then downside, completing that running flat. If you make one more flat here, if this comes back here go back there, and then go back up. You make one more flat here. You're going to drop one more and then go back up. See, we will get this eventually. We just need to complete this. So we will start, we'll be looking for the buy setup first, and then we'll see where that takes us. So let's see, it looks like we might be getting a buy setup inside of the correction. If not, we'll get it outside of the correction. If this is more of a flat for downside, which means if this just stays here, and then go back there and then drop like that. All right, if we don't get it, if you get a buy, it will be a break even and then drop like this, wait for this and then downside. So let's see. Let's see on the 15 if we can get an early buy. Yeah, an early buy is possible. You can get in with an early buy, unless this come back way to the bottom here, right? If this comes way to the bottom here, don't take the buy. It will go up, but don't buy it because that becomes a flag for downside. If it doesn't go down, then the buy is okay, right? So if you're watching this and you wonder what the hell did he just say, these are the rules of how we trade the pattern. Remember I said we look at each pattern and then we develop a strategy based on how the pattern behaves. So this pattern itself right now is a flat for upside, is a flag for upside. But if this flag comes deeper into this low, then it becomes a flat. It will go back up still, but it becomes a flat for downside. So that changes the strategy you're going to use to trade it, or even whether you trade it or not. Right? So now we'll wait on that. Pause. Perfect sell setup. The first sell was perfect. The second sell will go well. Put it back on the 1 hour. So the first sell, we took an aggressive trade from inside there. For the downside, this one is going, you're getting another sell setup. I think my traders looking at this, remember why we took that sell, right? That is very important because we looked at it, it looks like an upside, but then after we looked at it, we said, no, wait a second. This thing has all the criteria to fall based on the patterns we look at, and it's falling well. So you have another sell setup here. I'll put this as a sell. You can actually put an entry order in now. I will put it under the low. You will regulate it when you come in the trading room for a better entry. So I'll put it for now for the general public here. If you guys can set it up for a better entry, do that. Pound New Zealand. Okay, we're going to get one more downside here. Do we want to trade it? No, don't trade this. Trade the Pound Oz. So take this off. It's still coming down in this move. And this one is not quite what we think. It's coming down. We expect it to come down, but it's not coming down the way we expect it to come down. So let's take this off. Let's assume that, there is a running flat or a contracting flat somewhere in here. We can assume the contracting flat, or we can go back with that as a running flat, not the best running flat. It's coming down, let it come down. It doesn't have very far to go, right? We're gonna watch it at this level. Let it come back to about this level, and then we're expecting a spike back up. It needs to go back, complete this, and then come back here, right? If we're wrong about that, it will continue to go. If we're right, they'll come back here, then go back up, and that will complete this flat. And then we're going to look for the big drop. So there might be a few more up and down move in this before it completes the flat. Do I think this could start drop from here? Let's assume that this whole thing here is a weird contracting flat and this is going to drop. Well, only then we'll get sell setups. Not ready. Let it break this low first. So we're going to ignore this sell, although there's a sell setup because of where it is on the lower time frame, on the this low and this one. There isn't much to go. Sell the ones that have much to go. Pound Swiss, we're looking for the buy because at some point this correction goes back up. So you look for the buy setup in it. Even if there's a sell, we'll ignore it. So right now we don't have anything, not the buy, not the sell. Just wait for the setups. Hang in. It's gonna go up one more. You just need to wait. This one is making a flat, so it'll probably come back here, go back up from there. Once you get this, you can look for one more spike to this level. Right, if we get that spike, then we'll look for the sell setup. But what if it doesn't do that? What if this actually drops one more here, break the low, and then go back up? That is still possible. So should we take the sell if that is going to happen? Right now, you can still take the sell. You can put this here. And the sell is valid if you don't go back to the top, which means if this here doesn't go back to the top here, the sell is valid. If it's going back to the top, then the sell is out. It probably will pull back here and then go, because I think we might end up with a flat here and then one more. Let's see which it gives us. But if it starts to drop now, the sell might be a good idea. If it's making a bigger flat, let's say they drop just about this level and go back up. You can get out of that, right? Take break even, look for this flat, look for one more up. Absolutely take the buy. New Zealand yen. All of them, all the yen pairs are in this sideways movement, right? In the middle of something, see? So this is a big sideways move, and they have very similar structure, right? See the sharp move here? This slow one down, and this is going up slowly like this. So at some point, this might even get to the top there and drop, right? Or this drop, then go back up and then drop, right? We still have 1, 2 to deal with. So let this play out in here. If you get short-term trades, take it. I don't think we want any short-term buy in this, because any buy here is coming back just about this level, right? And this is going up too slow for that. So let it get to that level, and then we look for the sell. We look for this one now, right? So the sell would be a better risk to reward trade if you get it. As of now, we'll just stick to this. Leave it alone. We don't have anything. All the yen pairs, unless you have a perfect one. The CAD yen, the sell was okay. Let's see if this drop. I think if you're not in the sell, right, you either got in here or got in there, whichever. You either tagged in it or not tagged in it. If not, watch this. You want this to, it's not a perfect sell here at the top, but if this starts to drop and make another flag, you go with this to this level and then wait for the breakout, right? When it breaks out, we're expecting it to go down. I don't expect another flat at the top there, right? This one was pretty deep, but it went down. So I'm not expecting another flat there. I'm expecting this to drop. We would look for all the sell setups wherever you get there. If not, you're going to get break even in this trade. If you took break even already, it's okay. If not, you're going to get break even and we're looking for a sell. So I'm going to put this as a sell setup. It should be under the low. Swiss yen. This is at the top. We've got one sharp wave there. So we've got one sharp wave here. And it's kind of going up some more. Wait for another one and then go. So which means you can sell this. Look for the sell setup. The upside, if you get a good buy setup, it's limited, right? Which means you get the hell out of it really quick. The way this is going up here, I think we're gonna be careful. Let it come here, let it do this, and then look for that drop. There's no good buy setup in that. Aussie yen. Similar to all the other trades, you're in that big sideways move there. All right, you've got some sharp waves going on in it. And this definitely looks at least one more down, right? You can make an argument as to whether this piece is one of its own, whether that is one of its own, whether you already had the running flat there. There's a number of things you could look at, but this looks more downside from here, right? We don't have to sell it from under the low. That was just last week and before we break that top. Now that the top is broken, look for a sell from the top going down. We don't have a sell setup as yet. We need to break this top, drop, make a flag, sell. So we'll be looking for a sell setup. I'll put it as a sell setup, not a sell as yet. Aussie, New Zealand, stay away from it. It's going back to the top if you want it. So like I said, you're going to sell this. If you sell this only to this level, from here, they can go back to the top. If you get a buy here, you're already buying it to that level, and then you look for the drop, right? If it goes back to the top, there is sell might be an interesting thing, right? If this gets back to the top here, then that sell could be interesting because what you're going to have is a really huge flat here that could drop one impulse and go back up or totally drop, because from this point, it can totally drop. We already did that analysis, right? So I'll keep an eye on this. Let's put it for a sell setup. I'm going to put it for a sell setup so that you can keep an eye on it. Aussie Swiss. The first move on that, on the Aussie New Zealand will be up. Aussie Swiss, you definitely want to sell. You can see that sell setup forming there. Go back to the 1 hour. Yeah, if you're not already in the trade, which you probably should be, look for the sell setup again, all right? Also a sell setup here. I think we're waiting for a sell setup here. We wanted it to go back to the top. It went back to the top. It doesn't have to break the top because we'll go running flat. It could go a little higher, but wait for your sell setup. New Zealand CAD. So this has to prove what we think it is. We think this is a running flat, right? So it has to come down here, make a flag, and then we'll sell. If we're wrong about that and it stays here, that consolidation stays here, right? Then we will go for this as a buy. The buy would be a big sell, the sell would be a good sell. So you cannot put this as both ways. So you're focused in both directions, right? The sell is a good one, the buy is a good one. It looks very much like it's consolidating the top there, but we have seen that before, right? We've seen this before. This one comes back to about this level, make a running flat here, and then drop. So once it goes back there, you have your sell entry here. If it comes back down, you get a trade. If it just continue to go up or it comes here and start to do this, you take that off and we'll go with the buy setup. What if it breaks out totally? Well, if it breaks out, we'll look for the buy above the top, right? I think this is a very, very good running path. So we're looking for a sell setup. Wait for that flag. Cat Swiss. I think we got the first sell. We're out of that. You're looking at the second sell here now. You've got a really big flat there. This is a really big flat. You might get an early entry here if you want. Be careful. You could move the sell setup up to this level. And we'll put this as a sell actually. You can put that entry order for the sell. You can literally put that entry order on for the sell, my traders. And you know how to manage your way out of that, right? Remember, if this thing is going to drop, it's going to drop big time, right? If it's going to drop, the trade we're looking for is that move down, at least at this level. And if they drop off of that level, which is possible, if we're dropping off of that in the daily, you know what? You can be in for a big surprise, right? If you're dropping off the bottom. So the trade we're looking for is coming back to this level, which is a very good trade. And from here, they can either go back up or they can drop through the bottom, which means you're coming here with a number of trades in it, not one. So I would say keep an eye on this one. It's a sell setup already there. Keep an eye on it very closely, and we'll manage it as we go. Let's go. Natural gas. Natural gas, there was a small flag for upside. I'll be careful of the upside in this one. It's coming back very much to the top. We already made a top, see there? But this is going up slowly. Right, they're short impulses, but it's going up. I'll be careful. If you take any short impulses upside, get out for profit quick, right? We do have 1 hour divergence. I think you can see that here, which means there's a good chance that, you know, at any point in time, it can turn, go down back. Take the flags. You know how to do that. Take the flags, move your stop, and get the hell out of the trade on each impulse. Oil, let me take all of this out. Those are buy setups. You can see that we bought them already, but they're pretty much not going anywhere. Put an entry above the top. It's still a buy. That is actually a buy now. So I'll put that on back. Let's see this. Same, it's a buy. Put that on back. You'll just move the entry to above the top. You should have been out of that trade already with an entry above the top. If it's going to drop more, you know what to do, right? Remember, there's a potentially big move to the upside. We did that in the last webinar already. S&P 500. Perfect. I don't know how many of you got the buy, but this was perfect. That's a good buy. It's going, watch it at this stop. So what's the big picture in this? As you come back, watch it at this stop here, right? Watch it here because they can stop and come back down and then go, or they can just take off. Now, in the bigger picture, this could go all the way back to the top, right? It could either be a flat and go down, right? It could be a flat here that they make, it just comes to the top here, make a flat and go down. That would be a very good trade for you. Or we can break out of this thing. So which one is it going to be? You don't have to know that. You'll figure that out as you go, right? You'll see it. So that's a good buy. Let's see if we get another buy setup here. I think there's another buy setup forming. Once you get a consolidation here, you're looking for another buy setup. Put an entry above there and go for the buy. So I'll put it as a buy setup for now. You wanted to pull back slightly to get in the trade. There is a consolidation already there. It looks like it's breaking out. I think we wait for a little bigger one like this. Because if you take that smaller, it might just tag the top, pull back, make a bigger one, and then go. You know how to manage the trade if you take it, right? So let's see. We wanted to break this stop. If it comes to this stop, you'll get break even. But you're getting very good trades. And the same thing should be in DAX. Let me put DAX lower under the three of them. So we're looking at NASDAQ first. Same thing, buy, watch it at this stop or the breakout, right? We didn't break the low. So I would say watch this as it comes to this stop, because then you can go back down and then go, right? It will be a running flat in the middle. If it is a contracting flat, if this is a contracting flat, right? That's a contracting flat, it's gonna take off. And it can take off way back to the top. Again, the same thing, right? Way back to this top, even break out of that structure, right? This is the lower trend line, see? So the upside is good. If it's a flat, you're gonna get a good trade. There's at least one more trade on here, right? We're getting some consolidation that is breaking out. Consider if you want to take the trade immediately or put an entry above the top or wait for a deeper one. I'll prefer, if you're not in the trade, you wait for a deeper one like this, right? Let this kind of pull back and then go with the trade. If you're in the trade already, you can take a second faster. You can take a second trade that will give you risk, but you're going to move the first one into profit. So this is a buy setup. I'm putting them as buy setups. Let's see. This one we didn't take. This one was in here. We didn't take that because there was no flag, right? So we didn't take the trade. You can leave this entry where it is, or you can put it above the flag that is forming right now. There's a flag forming right here, or you can leave the entry above this top. Why? Well, if they take off, they'll have to break that top, break this top, and then we'll see whether it's a flat or whether it's a move to the upside. So you got 2 out of 3. The third one didn't tag you. That's okay. That was a good trade, right? So let's see. This one already an entry. Now that entry is positive. So this one is already a buy. This is not a setup. This one is a buy. You can literally put that entry order in there and wait, right? So that's we'll go for the buy. You will either wait for a flag here or you can put it above the last impulse, whichever you like. So I'm going to put this as a buy above the last impulse. If you get a flag there, take the flag, right? Now, remember, this could also be a correction, right? This could also just come to this level and go down back for a flat, or it could totally go back up. Either way, it doesn't matter to you. Take the trade and then we manage our way out of it. If you want to see the bigger picture in this, this is what it is, right? So if this makes a flat here, we're going to go one more down. We will confirm the contracting flat. If you're wrong about a contracting flat, which means if it's not a contracting flat, then this could come back all the way to the top here, make a flat, and then go down. So you want to buy? Seems like a good idea to me, right? If it's a flat, worst case, you get break even. If it's going back all the way to the top for the bigger flat, you make a ton of money. Let's go. Nifty. The buy is still okay. It hasn't broke out as yet. It's trying to break out. So, yep, you can go with that buy and see where that takes you. What if it consolidates more? Well, leave it alone. That's why we're above the last impulse. Okay, let's go through these really quick. Bitcoin, remember what I said last week? There's a good chance you're making a flat here, right? So once you came here, I don't know if you guys with me, we said, watch this. The possibility is if you get a flag here, you can buy. When it breaks this top, you put an entry to sell it back there, which means if they drop, you're out of the trade. Now, if you want to sell this, that's a whole different story. I don't know whether your broker allows you to short it when you don't have it, then that's a different story. If not, wait for them to break the low and look for buys again. Now, could this be the start of the total upside? Why do you want to buy it here? What if this is just a big flat for a total upside? You definitely want to be in the trade. Right now, it looks like it's making a flat for downside, right? Remember that flat, the same thing, the same argument we had on this, right? Buy this here. Buy this on the break of this with a flag here. And when it gets and it breaks that top, put an entry order to sell it here. Remember that? If you go back, watch the webinars, the same thing we're doing here, because we don't know whether these are flats that are going to make one more low or whether that's a takeoff. You may say, well, why would it make such that looks like a flat? Well, at the start of it, this bigger flat here do happen sometime when you're changing direction. Most times it will change direction with a smaller flag, but not always. Sometimes you get a really, really deep pullback before you do that. Here might be a good example. Look at this one. See, they went up. You got a really deep flat at the bottom there before this takes off. Look at this flat here before they take off, before this goes, right? So sometimes you get a flat like this here, and this one just takes off. And that is okay. Nothing's wrong with that, right? Look at the deep pullback here. This one had a really deep pullback. It didn't break the low, but it came all the way back to the low and then to the low. So you should take the trade and manage your way out, which means by the time it breaks the stop, you can put it to break even. Right? That was my argument last week, and it's the same thing. Now might be too late because you wouldn't get break even if it starts to go down. I hope you're in any one of them already. This one already broke the top. So you definitely, the only way you can buy this now is if they actually make a 1 hour or 4 hour consolidation here to continue to go. So let's go back to the 1 hour now. And this one, you're supposed to buy inside from here, right? You're supposed to either buy it here. Sorry, you're either supposed to buy it here or somewhere here above this top, right? Now, this would just be a pullback that goes. Now, if they make another flat here, then you buy. It's another flat. We don't have a flat there. All you have is a move down, and this is making a move up. Actually, this comes back to the top here and then do this. Put an entry to buy here because then we're going to continue to go. If this one is going to fall from this level, which means if this just stays here and start to drop, it can break the low. If you're in this trade, or if you're in this trade, put an entry order to sell. So you should have an entry order here to sell or an entry order here to sell. Which means if they drop through this bottom or drop through this bottom, you will be out of your trade and you'll be waiting for it to break the low and then buy again. So here's the question. Is this 1, 2, 3 for downside? Or is this 1, 2 and the start of the upside? That's the question. It's very simple. Now, if you know the patterns, you know what you're looking for, you know what your questions are, what direction, then you wait for a strategy to say, okay, this is my setup before I take the trade. I just showed you the setup before you take the trade, right? If you're already in the trade, congratulations, you did well. You're listening to what we say, right? OMG, same thing. And this one came pretty much to the low. So your first, there were 2 entries here we identified last week. That was this one and this one. You can put a break even in both of those, which means this could drop 1 more here. Now, I don't think it's going to drop 1 more. I think it's going to go up to the top here and then drop 1 more, making this a 1, 2, 3 flat. And I believe this one is likely going to be a flat, which means 1 more downside is very likely, even if they go up a little more, right? Because I don't see where this takes off coming way back to the bottom. It's possible, but it's rare. So if you're in the trade, just wait for it to come to this level, or even right now, put that at break even, and let's see what happens. If it makes a new low, better for all of us. If you got out of a trade and make a new low, guess what? You can buy much more. You don't want the small moves. You want that big move that gives you 3, 4, 5 times of what you invest, and then you take it out, right? XRP works like magic. I don't know how else to explain it to you, right? It just works like magic every time. Now, it's either we're breaking this and we're coming to this top and we're going to drop, or we're going to take off because this is the low and we haven't broken the low. So you can still go with this as the flat and this is the takeoff. Can it become more complex than that? Yes, I'm not going to confuse you right now because my trader looking at it and said, can it be this possible complex pattern forming? And I'm like, yes, but for the rest of the public, let's not confuse them. If you bought here, well, this one you didn't buy there, you should have bought here, right? So if you bought any of those 2, put it to break even. If you bought here, just close it down trade, put an entry above the top because you're risking too much. You wouldn't get out of that trade, right? LTC. I think this was the easier one because this one here was very far away from the low. So that made your life easier. So if you bought it here or you bought it here, wait for it to come and break this. You can already put this at break even. You might be able to put that at break even. Then when it gets to that top, you can definitely put both of them at break even if you bought any of those, right? One of them you're supposed to buy. So when it gets to this top here and break that top, it could become a flat, which means you could look at this as a 1, 2, 3, drop 1 more, then go back up. Or this totally takes off. It doesn't matter. We'll figure out which one is this when you get there, right? Dodge, I think same thing, right? We thought this was the running flat. We definitely thought that was the running flat until it starts to do this, right? So if this breaks out, we would assume that we missed a contracting flat in there, which is possible. It is very possible, right? We looked at that. We spoke about a possibility of a contracting flat. I said, we're not going to forecast that until we get confirmation. We never forecast contracting flats until we get confirmation. Even if we think it is, and we like it as a contract, when we saw it. That's the wrong thing to do because then every pattern has a contracting flat. So you only wait until it's proven that there was a contracting flat somewhere there. This is taking off, then it can go. If this keeps dropping, I would go back with this as a running flat. So can this drop from here? It can. Now, if you're buying this or if you're in the buy of it, you have to be careful. There is no buy setup right now. If I'm going to buy this, I'll prefer it to break out. I'll prefer this to break out, make a flag here, take this flag to the upside. And let's see what happens from there. Eddie, this has to break below. I think this one is definitely going to drop, break below, then go up. So let's see. What if it doesn't do that? What if it still goes up from here? Can we relook at this whole thing as some deeper correction? I don't like that idea. But we'll see. Maybe we're making a bigger flat. So this has to break out, make a flag here above this top, and then we go for that buy. Otherwise, we're not buying it this year. Link. Pretty much the same thing. I believe this will break below. This is a deeper consolidation happening here. Probably go back up, come back down, go back up, drop here, and then start to go. We'll see. There's no buy setup in this one. You shouldn't be buying it in the first place. Not as yet. Okay, so this was the buy in this one. That was an all buy. If that spike is right, that is fulfilled. Take it off. You're supposed to be in and out of that trade. Now, I think this is going to drop and break the low again. You can see this here following this thing here. So I think this could come here, break the low, and then start to go back up. We'll look at this as a 1, 2, 3, drop, break the low, and then go back up. I'm not looking for a buy here as yet. If I'm going to buy this, it has to be above these stops. It has to break out. Let's suppose that was the flat and this is the low. It has to go above that, make a flag here, then I'll consider that a buy. So right now, there's no buy setup. Sorry, that's Mexican already. We're going into different territory. So let's get out now. Okay, so that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoy it. Stay tuned for set up your notification for next week. You're going to have a lot of videos out, right? And if you guys have special requests on any of the cryptos you want me to do more details, make your comments, share, like, have more people comments, have more people requesting it. If I get a large amount of requests, I'll probably do some of those. Any specific chart you want to do, you have to have at least 25 people say, hey, yes, we like this. I'll do it, right? So everybody take care, trade with care, have a great weekend. Sorry to disturb your weekend. Please go share this chart once it's out. Take care, everybody. Thanks, guys, for joining. I see a few of you more joined. Thank you very much. Sorry to disturb your weekend as well. You guys are doing great. It will be out. You have it already, and it's live in our thing. Our traders can start watching it. It should be out in YouTube in a couple of minutes. Please go and run it and watch it. Even you don't have to watch it the second time if you don't want, right? Just let it run and then click the likes and all that. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.